We're going to look at the domain for three functions. Let us take another look at functional notation and identify the domain of the following. So when I take a look at my function h, what is the domain? Well, my domain is probably best described in set notation as b is element of the reals. Simply, there is no restriction upon b. What can be not b? Nothing. Every value of b is valid. So let's go over to f. What is the function for f? Or sorry, the domain for f? Well, that's a great point. Likely, you have this trained in you, your non-permissible values. That is, when you factor f of x factors into 1 over, it's a difference of squares. You have a non-permissible values of x cannot be equal to -2 or 2. So the domain is probably best described as x exists such that x cannot be plus and minus 2, but x is element of the reals. Now, for g, if we take a look at g, what is the domain for g? Well, the thought for the domain for g is that my radicand has to be non-negative. That is, x plus 3 has to be greater than or equal to 0. And solving this very simple inequality, you get x is equal to, or x is greater than or equal to -3. So my domain is x exists such that x is greater than or equal to -3, and x is element of the reals. So let's go on and talk about the inputs of a function. So here is my function f. F is just simply a set of instructions that takes 2, right? My function is f. It takes 2 times my input plus 1. That's the set of instructions. So what is the f of 2? The f of 2 simply says, well, my input is 2. So here it is 5. Well, what is f of a? Well, my set of instructions said, well, I have to take 2 times my input plus 1. And here my input was a. So f of a is 2a plus 1. Fair enough. Now, what is the f of a plus 2? Well, looking at my set of instructions for f, which were defined up here, it is really 2 times my input plus 1. And my input here is a plus 2. And now we have an algebraic expression on the right-hand side, which is 2a plus 4 plus 1, which can be simplified into 2a plus 5. All is good. Now, this is starting to get quite serious. But don't panic, it's the same. The f of x squared minus 3x plus 1. It is simply 2 times my input plus 1. And my input is a little bit more complex, but it's the same process. The algebra is just getting a little bit trickier, but easily at our level. So a function can be represented in a graph, which you're likely used to, an equation, or even notation.